Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout and process video for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2019 August kits. And I pulled two papers from the main kit today that I was very much inspired by. I was inspired to use hexagons today from this Whidden paper, and then I wanted to use this beautiful, colorful quilt-like pattern paper from the new Paige Evans Truly Grateful. And one of our assignments today is to use punches. And so since I had hexagons on the brain, I pulled out one of my hexagon punches. And I'm just going to go through all of these colorful squares and punch out a hexagon from most of them. And then I'm going to punch out a couple from the Whidden paper. And that's the new Wildflowers and Honey collection from Vicky. And I just love both of these papers. The colors just speak to me. I'm all about the bright colors and the rainbow array of them and all the different patterns on this paper. I just cannot get enough of it. And so I'm going to trim some of it down so I can get to all of the squares, or most of the squares. And then I'm going to create a background with it. And I kind of arranged them already off camera. And I decided to go with a blue pattern paper as my background. That's also from the Paige Evans Truly Grateful. And then I've got these two pictures of my daughters. They are very rarely in the same photo together. So these are definitely action shots from 2014, I believe. And they were at the pool and they were throwing those little swim rings in the pool. And I just thought they were cute pictures. And whenever they are close to one another, I just start snapping away and get what I can get because they are never beside each other. So I do want to jazz up this background before I put all those hexagons on it. And so I'm going to go with white gesso. And I'm using a different palette knife today to scrape on. And it's interesting to see the different shapes of palette knives totally scrapes on the gesso in a different way. And I love how this turns out. I still do use my finger a little bit to smudge around the edges, but most of this is going to be covered up and you're only going to be able to see the mixed media part peeking through the hexagons. And so bear with me here. I know a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, you've just ruined that paper, but it works in the end. So let's keep going. We get 3 of the Lindy's Stamp Gang magical powders in the color kit this month, a yellow, a pink, and a purple. And I've pulled out the yellow one here for today, and that color is called Golden Sleigh Bells. And I'm just dumping some of the powder onto the gesso and then adding some water to it and smudging the color around. And I do wind up adding a little bit of pink here shortly, but I just was going with a contrasting color from the blue. And again, this color would look pretty, you know, showing through all of those different colors of hexagons. Here is the pink color that we get this month, and it is called Ramblin' Rose Pink. And so those two colors blend together nicely to create a fun orangey shade. So I just kind of play around with it here. The good thing about using gesso is, you know, if you make a color that you don't like, you have time to dab it up or to mix in another color, and you know, it's not going to dry right away. You've got some time to play around with it. I did pull out another pink from a previous month, as well as this darker pink. So we've gotten several of the powders here from Lindy's over the last several months. And so I have them all still right here within reaching distance on my desk. And they all work together. They all blend nicely. The only thing I noticed is when they dried, it dried very, very light. And I think it's just because I'm using pattern paper that's dark instead of white. I think if you applied those directly to white cardstock, it would look totally different, but I feel like they just kind of soaked into the dark background here. So what I did to brighten that up was I pulled out the 2 sprays that we got last month. Those are also from Lindy's. It's a really bold pink and a really bold golden yellow color, as you can see here. So I just sprayed those directly on, kind of blending, adding a little bit of water. I decided to add in some white splatters. I always love to use white splatters whenever I have a darker background like this because I just feel like the white just pops. And the easiest way for me to get white to pop is to just water down some white acrylic paint. This is just some cheap, what's the brand here? Apple Barrel. It's from Walmart. I mean, it is nothing crazy here. It's pretty thin. It pours out really well, and as soon as I mix a little bit of water in there, it's easily splatterable. I know that's not a word, but I'm going to use it. Splatters very, very well. So even that dried a little bit lighter than I was hoping, so I reached into my stash of gelatos, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color here. I do like the lightness of all of those colors, but I did have a vision of it being a little bit more bold, so I'm just going to scribble on a little bit of gelatos here, and these did not come in the color kit. These are from my stash. These are like little crayons / lipstick. I always I can't think. Compare them to lipstick because they remind me of little chapsticks, and they go on very easily. They smudge, and I like the oranges here, the yellows and the pinks, and I'm gonna kind of layer the two photos down there at the bottom like you see, and then just kind of work in all those hexagons again. And like I said, most of this is going to be covered up. It's just going to be slightly visible behind the hexagons, and that's the look that I was going for, because I did want most of that blue paper to show, but I did want a little bit of, you know, messy factor going on in the background. So that's why I wasn't too concerned about the background being perfect, because it's going to kind of disappear here with just little hints of it visible, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So yeah, these photos make me smile, especially the one on the left of Paige bending down. She's getting ready to hurl one of those swim rings across the pool, and she does it in a very dramatic fashion. So, all right, so I'm going to lightly glue down the middle of each of these hexagons, and then I'm going to get crazy and wind up stitching. I let them dry, and then this took a while. I changed out my thread color to match each one and kind of went around the edges of each hexagon. I just wanted some texture. I was in the mood to stitch, and so I got out my sewing machine and pulled out all my matching thread colors and did that. And the main reason was because I wanted to ruffle up the edges of each of the hexagons once they were stitched down. And so I pulled out my little spatula tool here to help me. I just wanted them to look kind of distressed and rough, and look at the dimension. I love how that turned out. So now I've got this really fun background, lots of texture, lots of color, and still kind of mixed media, even though a lot of it is hidden. But again, that's the look I was going for, and I like that you can still kind of see it hiding. All right, so I'm going to add some tissue paper behind my photos there, and then I'm going to go to work with some layering. And I pulled out a couple of the Pocket Life cards, a yellow one and a light blue one, to kind of layer behind the photos there, just to give them a little bit of something behind them. And I love the Pocket Life cards this month. Oh my gosh, I love everything in the kits this month. A lot of the Paige Evans Truly Grateful, which is stunning. Just when I think she can't come out with a more beautiful collection than the last one, she does. I want to layer in just a couple photos down here. Photos. I am saying the wrong words today. Flowers below the photos there, because I want to use that word together as my title. And so I trimmed off the white edge around that one floral cluster. I just felt like the white edge made it stand out a little too much. So I went ahead and trimmed that off, and then I'm going to layer in the flowers there like you see. Now I just added in some orange thread underneath that light green minty flower, because I needed a pop of orange down there, and I think that thread is a great and easy way to do that. And I just glued down my photos, forgetting that I wanted to add foam behind them for some dimension. So I'm going to quickly do that, even though I've already added glue. I can't believe I forgot to do that, but hey, at least I remembered it before they dried. And I do wind up covering up a couple of the hexagons that I didn't want to cover up, but I needed some room beneath the photos for some things, so I did decide to move those up a little bit. And I was excited to use the epoxy stickers from the Truly Grateful collection that we get in the kits, especially the one that says together, because my girls are never together, especially for pictures. So yeah, I knew right away that I wanted to use that as my title, and I was so glad that it was in this hot pink color. I'm just going to layer it right there underneath the photos, kind of beneath the photos. They're a little bit crooked, but I love that. And I love when I already have a title to use. I don't have to agonize over what's the title going to be. You know, sometimes the title stumps me until the end, and then sometimes it just it's right there in front of you. So now I did want to embellish a little bit on top of the hexagons, and so I went to the sticker sheet from Truly Grateful, and since we get so much of this collection, everything matches. It's awesome. So this came together pretty quickly. I went for some of the epoxy stars, the epoxy hearts, some of the stickers that have little sentiments on them, and I'm trying to do like a little tone on tone thing here. That sticker that says Happy Day, it's kind of that reddish orange color. I want that to go on the reddish orange hexagon, the yellow sticker on the yellow. And some of these stickers don't have the little banner piece cut out, the little fishtail or whatever that's called. So I just cut it myself so they would all be kind of consistent. And then I'm going to pop everything up using adhesive foam. So I'm going to have a couple of different phrases and words. And then I'm going to cut tiny little bits here to raise up all of the stars that I'm using. And they just create fun little dimension here. I love that. I love the tone on tone look. You can still see it, but it's not something that's so distracting that takes away from the photo. It just gives some interest to the background there. So I decided to come in with a little bit more thread. This is going to be very subtle. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow here to the right, and it's just basically going to be on top of that yellow hexagon. So again, in a sense, it's just more tone on tone decor. I went for these Vicki Boutin layered vellum butterflies. I put them down and then decided to not use them. And then I'm going to come back and decide to use them. I decided to use them on top of some of the hexagons. I'm going to use 3. The third one is going to be over on the left, and it's just going to be by itself. I'm not going to put that on top of a hexagon, and I think it's fine. Purple thread is going to go at the top here because I felt like I only had one purple hexagon. I wanted something, a little bit of a purple something over there on the left. Tiny little hearts over here to the left. These are again from the Paige Evans Truly Grateful. There's a little embellishment pack. It's got little epoxy heart stickers, some sequins, and some wood veneer pieces. And I do decide to use some of the sequins. I'm just going to scatter those on top of some of the hexagons as well, just for added detail and sparkle and dimension and texture, all those fun things that sequins do. And I'm almost finished here. The last thing I'm going to do is come in with my journaling, and I'm going to use a white Jelly Roll pen because I love to use white again on top of the blue. It just stands out really nicely. And I'm going to do it right here at the bottom because I think that's really the only spot where it would work. I need to get a new Jelly Roll pen, one that works a little bit better that's white. So if you have any tips on a new white pen, let me know. The last thing I'm going to do is come back in with my white acrylic paint. I'm going to water it down, add some more splatters just because I felt like it needed some more white splatters. And I'm going to just go crazy all over the place with the white. And that's going to wrap this up. I do add the date at the bottom, but that's the final layout. I did have a little bit of paper warping, but I did add a lot of water, and it was just a piece of patterned paper, and I'm okay with it warping a little bit. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but I love how this turned out. I love the texture from all those hexagons. I love the stitching, the colors. Oh, Paige Evans did an amazing job on this collection, and I'm so excited that's in the hip kits because it's awesome. And yeah, very inspired by the Vicki Boutin goodies too. I can't wait to use more of those in my next layouts. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope you got some fun ideas to try. And I challenge you to use a pattern paper background because, yeah, you know me, I like to use white. So this was fun to do something different. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be seeing you in my next video. Thanks for watching.